Ms. Sripriya Srinivasan for the keynote address on technology infrastructure and industry growth. Ma'am, please.
Hi, thank you for being here. For those of you in the back, you're welcome to join us in the front. Would appreciate it very much. Like she said, my name is Priya Srinivasan. I work for IBM. I'm very glad to be here. I'm also glad to be on a topic that is very, very critical for today's businesses and the future business. So if you look at businesses around the world, irrespective of the industry, is this better? If you look at businesses around the world, irrespective of the industry, probably trying to solve one of the 5 problems. 1, enhance client experience, right? Improve your customer experience. 2, grow revenue. 3, optimize for cost. 4, building the talent for the next generation and for the future of the company. 5, you probably have systems that are legacy, monolithic, versus the building newer workloads, cloud native, microservice, and how do you bring all of that together? How do you simplify? How do you consolidate and have lesser tools and technologies while still driving the business forward? Pretty much most problems, you could probably put it into one of these 5 buckets. Now, to do any of this, there is a very important backbone, and that's the IT infrastructure. Now, I want to kind of at a high level, break down what are some of the components of the IT infrastructure, and then we'll explain why it's important. So when you think of IT infrastructure, you're thinking of the entire full stack, right? You're thinking of the hardware, you're thinking of the storage, the servers, the computers, the devices, you're thinking of the software, you're thinking of the business applications, the databases, you're thinking of cloud computing. Your IT infrastructure could sit inside in your data center, or it could be any of the hyperscalers, right? You could be using IBM Cloud, you could use AWS, you could use Azure, GCP. You have multiple options where somebody else is hosting it for you. Or you could think about the firewall and security aspects of technology that you need. And then the last one I would mention is networking. You need really powerful networking for all of these pieces to come together. If that's how you're imagining in your head as the full stack IT infrastructure, now, why is it important? Why is the stack so important? Anything that you're trying to do, you're going to need the stack as well to be automated. If you're doing an AI transformation, it needs to start ground up. It just does not start at the top with your business application. Ground up, you should be able to have the right technology for you to be able to do that AI transformation. I'll mention a few very popular non-functional requirements when you're thinking of applications and when you're thinking of your business priorities that not everybody puts it in the front, but it's something that is very, very critical. So availability. You need your infrastructure to be always available. You need your applications to be always available. Reliability. It's not just enough it's available. Your user experience, how it performs, very critical. Security, right? Especially with the massive explosion of data, massive explosion of how it's dispersed across the geos, it's very important that it's highly secure. Recoverability. If something does happen, how quickly can you recover? How much of multi-region do you have? How much have you thought about HA? How much have you thought about DR? If everything works well, great, but if you do have a challenge, how quickly can you recover and how much you can minimize the data loss? So high recoverability. The other thing that should come to everybody's mind is scalability, right? So if you're building an infrastructure for your application needs, are today's needs the same as tomorrow? Can you guarantee it will be the same a month or a year from? So you need an infrastructure that can scale. It needs to scale in compute, it needs to scale in storage, and the scalability has to be not obvious to the application. So think of all these different non-functional requirements: reliability, availability, security, scalability, maintainability, right? Technology is never static. We're constantly changing. There is constant enhancements. So it has to be maintained in a way that it's not obvious to the user and it's very least impact. For you to have an experience like that, you have to be able to invest. It's not a choice. There is a need for investing in the right IT infrastructure services. Now again, the investment can be something that you make, or it could be, like I said, a hyperscaler that you can leverage. I will give an example from the company I work for, IBM. We have AI services on the cloud, right? We host it on, we're a hybrid cloud deployment company, meaning our software not only runs in IBM cloud, it also runs in hyperscalers. So irrespective of your cloud choice, if you are on an AI transformation journey, you don't need to invest on that infrastructure yourself. You can go to a technology company and leverage their AI services for you to be able to transform your application and businesses. Now, and not every application might be in your AI transformation path. You could be doing simple digital transformation, right? And if you go back 4 years back when pandemic hit, there was a very important lesson all of us learned. And no business would probably forget the lesson learned, and everything we do is a little bit with that mindset now. Can you support remote work? If there is a catastrophe, would you be able to work remotely? Would you be able to do things digitally? There were a lot of business who were able to quickly pivot digital. Even schools and institutions were able to quickly pivot digital, but then there were a lot of companies and businesses, it took a lot of effort before they were able to actually pivot digital. Now, pivoting digital just does not mean now you're, working from home, or you send the students home and they're learning from there. The platform that they are on has to be reliable, right? If you had students in the room and now they are sitting, back at home and accessing your platform, can the platform, if they all logged in at the same time? Think about a situation where literally everybody is logging in at 9 a.m. Will your platform be able to handle that and scale that type of workload is what we need to be thinking. And that digital transformation is not just addressing the need of today, but it has to prepare you for the future. And the expectations as well from a client user experience perspective, there was a lot more tolerance or a different kind of expectation in the past, and as every year goes by, the client demands are higher and higher, the expectations are higher and higher. And for you to meet the client expectation and demands, your infrastructure has to scale accordingly. What we used to be acceptable to wait for several seconds, now the expectation is milliseconds, right? You want responses in sub-seconds, in milliseconds. And it's critical the IT infrastructure is able to expand with that. So as I conclude, I want to share a few thoughts as we all think through it. It's not just good enough to have a good IT infrastructure, it's actually core of a business's success. It is essential. The investment on it is very critical. Now, whether you choose to invest it yourself or you choose to use a SaaS or a hyperscaler, you have those options, so you don't consume the cost and you're leveraging a hyperscaler for your service. You have those options, but it is still important you have a highly reliable IT infrastructure. The other thing I would like to say is, when you think of IT infrastructure, you'll have to think through the entire ecosystem of it. Everything from the full stack and the full architecture for you to get an end-to-end right experience. It's about your day one operations, your day two operations, and your client experience through and through. Then the last thing I would like to mention is around where our technology is going, and I'm sure through every session you have repeatedly heard about AI and agents and machine learning. You've heard that enough. For you to be able to transform that, you need the IT infrastructure be very efficient. So one of the examples would be, how automated are you with your infrastructure? Are all manual tasks being, that are repeated, can they be automated? Is your infrastructure something that can store large amounts of data and be able to provide the insights real time? Would you be able to get insights real time? Customer buying decisions are made in seconds. There is a difference in what they choose to buy. The recommendations that you get, it's all real time data processing. Would you be able to do that real time? And the most important thought I would want to leave all of us with is how secure it is. Security is becoming more and more critical. Regulations are becoming more and more stricter. Governed data is becoming more critical. So as much as you have different data source and you're processing so much of different data, it's important you're processing the data you own. You're processing the data in a very clean manner and in a very governed manner, and you're driving insights that are valuable and that are actionable. Are you able to change a buying decision? If you're approving a loan, are you making the right AI-based decision so you're not declining a loan to somebody who must get a loan, and you're not approving for someone who should not get the loan? So these insights and the quality of the decisions and insights are very critical, and to be able to do all of that, the strength of the data, the strength of real-time processing, the secure way of processing it, the high performance capability that is needed across your entire full stack, and the investment that goes into for efficient processing is what's going to help business and business application transform. With that, thank you for the opportunity, and I guess I will turn it over back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Priya Srinivasan. May I please invite Mr. Santosh Kurup, Professor of Practice in the School of Digital Humanities and Liberal Arts at Digital University, Kerala, to give away the memento, our token of appreciation and love, to do the honors. Thank you, Santosh sir. Thank you, Ms. Priya. IT infrastructure for industry growth. Let's begin with the panel discussion. May I please invite Mr. Dinesh Thambi, the Vice President and Delivery Center Head at TCS Kerala. He has over 2 decades of industry experience and has an enviable footprint across the globe for various strategic and mission-critical engagements for TCS. With TCS focus on growing entire 2 cities, Dinesh was entrusted with the responsibility of crafting the growth of TCS in his home state. He expanded the TCS delivery and business-related operations in Kerala by setting up the delivery center at Cochin in May 2025, and he is the chair for the session. Welcome, sir. May I please invite Mr. Vinay Davare, the Head of Infrastructure and Information Security at Alliance Technology, which comes with a rich experience of over 2 decades in cloud services and integrated and E2E service delivery, including app and development services. Welcome, sir. Mr. Bhaskar Joshi, the Manager and the Partners Access, AWS Marketplace, AWS India, with rich experience from various roles at AWS and Microsoft. He's an alumni of IIM Kozhikode. Welcome, sir. Mr. Sushant Kurunthal, the CEO of Infopark. So please join us. He has appointed as the CEO 2003 and has served the IT industry for over 3 decades. With experience ranging over different states in Kerala, he brings in a fresh and rejuvenating experience across various segments of the technology sector. He is also the in charge of Cyber Park and the Cherthala and Koratti IT parks. Shri Vijayendra Purohit, Senior Vice President, Head of Infosys IT and Computers and Communications Divisions. With a 33+ years of experience in IT, of which 28 years with Infosys, Mr. Purohit has led complex IT transitions and global operations. He has been driving strategic global initiatives, cloud and network transformations over the years. Infosys IT has been focusing on future-proofing the organization infrastructure and platforms through modernization, standardization, and simplification. Mr. Purohit has been championing various technologies-led initiatives to enhance stakeholder experience, etc., etc. Welcome, sir. And Mr. Joseph Kora, the co-founder and president of Empatic, a Salesforce consulting services firm. He has been instrumental in driving companies' innovation and focus on multi-cloud developments, Salesforce, accelerating and leveraging a strong talent. Welcome to the stage, sir. So let's begin the panel discussion, IT infrastructure for industry growth. Over to the chair, Mr. Dinesh Thambi.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all. The topic we are going to discuss is on IT infrastructure for industry growth, and Kerala aspiring for a 1 trillion economy by 2047. When we normally think about that, a couple of things which will come to mind is the human capital. Definitely talent is one of the key aspects of it, and obviously the talent pool creation is happening as far as the state of Kerala is concerned. There are a lot of entities doing that. But again, another key aspect is infrastructure. It's not just the physical infrastructure, but the digital and the technological infrastructure plays a key role. In fact, when we talk about it, it's not only organizations like within the IT frame, but also any organization wanting to get into that infrastructure aspect needs a digital and a technological infrastructure. So I'm privileged to be here with the leaders in the industry and the government to discuss about this topic. And as our keynote address, Ms. Priya had mentioned, a couple of things I thought I will just touch upon. One is for the IT infrastructure, the entire full stack is needed, the software or the cloud computing, the firewall and the security and the networking. The non-functional aspects which she touched upon is availability, reliability, security, recoverability, scalability and maintainability. And again, with the pandemic coming into play, that is one time or the first time in the human history, we all started our lives in a much different way, like how we greet each other, talk to each other, meet each other, all those things. In fact, at some point it was 100% virtual. That is where I think the whole digital transformation is coming into play, where how, not only from an office premises, in fact, I have heard somebody talking about offices will become a place for conferences and confluences and the work will happen from home. But anyway, that is not the case now. Many organizations wanting the teams to come to the office, but again, still digital transformation is for the future. And for that, the technology infrastructure is definitely a must. The underlying fact she mentioned is with a lot of data coming into play and also with the insights and the processing and the technology, the speed in which or the pace in which technology is moving, security and regulations which also form a key part of it. And we all know when AI comes into play, there is a lot of discussions happening around the regulatory aspects of it. With that, I think we will start the panel. Maybe I will just ask each one of you to I know the introduction happened, but at least something very key if you want to mention. Start with Joe.
Thanks, Dinesh, and it's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to start off on a positive note. Yesterday the Kerala Ranji team made history. 68 years and they're in the final, so I think we should give them a great round of applause. I think being in Kerala and achieving such a thing. So I think it just puts the perspective of Kerala that if we set our minds to it, I think nothing is possible. We never knew cricket maybe 20 years back, right, as a state. Quick introduction about myself. I was a career professional. Along with Dinesh, I was heading Cognizant in Kerala. And I'm very happy to say that after spending about 12 years abroad, and I wanted to come back to my home state and start something here. And grew the center from about 200 people way back in 2010 with the help of government support, Info Park, especially we started our first center. And at that time, Cognizant was very reluctant to come to Kerala. I don't know, you know the history. Yesterday I saw the Cognizant MD also was there. They were very reluctant to come to Kerala because the mindset was that, hey, can Kerala grow? Can Kerala scale up? And we said, no, we're doing this. And in 10 years, we kind of grew the center from 200 to 4,000 people, and very proud of that. And one of the major things was, amongst all the centers that Cognizant had, Kochi center was by far operationally the best center in terms of talent, in terms of delivery metrics, in terms of not losing a single day to strikes, bunds, or hartals or other things, right? So that is an amazing achievement that not many people look at, right? So that's something great. And after being a career professional for 20 years, 23 years, I started up my own business called Impactive. And we had actually a very good exit. In about 3.5 years, I sold the company to Apex Partners, which is another private equity company. And I'm with them and looking at what else can we do in Kerala. And I'm very positive about Kerala.
Thank you. Mr. Bhaskar?
Thank you for the opportunity. Been associated with Kerala since the year 2000. Fresh out of Y2K, I joined Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode, which is not too far from here. And in the last almost 23 years that I have been in the profession of IT, I have been in some way or the other associated with Kerala. So it's always a pleasure to come back. It's a homecoming of sorts for me, though I've been professionally based outside for a fairly long time. I do have friends and family here. And I've seen over the last 23 years that there's a lot of change, primarily driven by people's urge to do something bigger and better. And I think human capital is one thing which was spoken about in the earlier sessions. We've had our space program being based here for a reason. And that kind of seed of human capital is something which continues to flower and bear fruit to this day in the form of the talented manpower that we have, the intellectual pool that we have, which is driving some of the top of the line innovations in the industry, IT industry most certainly included.
Thank you. Vijayendra?
First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be here. So let me talk about the way things are changing. And when we look at organizations, when they want to start their operations and then technology and business and things like that, obviously the first and the foremost thing that everyone would expect is how best the IT infrastructure the industry is doing. So I've been privileged to associated with Infosys and all along my career, and it's a wonderful transformation that what we have seen internally, and I'm here to share my experience with the industry leaders here. Okay.
Thank you. Vinay?
Good afternoon. I'll try to be quick. Been there with the industry for about 26 years. All in all, my experience stays around the infrastructure, information security, transformation, modernization world. Have seen the world of system integrators and also with GCC. I had the infrastructure and information security for Allianz Technology. I would say that we are associated with the state for about 2 decades now, to be precise, close to 22 years, and still growing. I mean, amazing to see the association, the local government support, and so on and so forth. Happy to share some of my perspectives as we move forward through the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. I think with all, I think from a physical infrastructure standpoint, Sushant.
I represent Kerala government on this panel. But I've been a thorough IT professional for about 30 plus years. And 2 years back, I took over the position of CEO at Infopark. And the good thing is that Kerala is the one government where they are inviting professionals from the industry to head institutions like Technopark, Infopark, Startup Mission, and stuff like that. And that is a huge positive change. So we bring in those kind of industry perspective to the government. So obviously, that is basically what I do at Infopark.
Thank you. With that, I think I will go with Bhaskar. When we talk about the current world, I think cloud computing is becoming utmost important. So can you share the experiences you have, I think, with the AWS, also with whatever the infrastructure we have put in place, and how Kerala can take that forward?
So if I were to talk about the infrastructure per se, I think one of the most significant areas that were spoken about in context of infrastructure is the availability and the resilience of the infrastructure. So I'll take a step back at this point and take you to the origin of AWS.
Sure.
It was thought in resilience of infrastructure that created AWS in the first place. So Amazon.com was our first customer. I mean, we are part of that company itself. So the end of the year sales which used to happen used to put a huge amount of strain on the infrastructure, and then there would be a time of lull before something else takes over and it would go on right through the year. So 2 or 3 things which came to the company leadership's mind at that point of time was that A, how to make sure that it never goes down. B, no matter what happens to any of the components of the infrastructure should always be available, and therefore the platform should always be available. And C, customers are doing financial transactions, so the data and their personally identifiable information should be safe and secure. So that sort of defined the direction in which AWS started thinking in terms of IT infrastructure and resiliency of IT infrastructure. So the second part to your question.
Yeah, it's how it's going to facilitate the businesses in Kerala.
Absolutely. So insofar as the infrastructure and the technology is concerned, this is what came about. Now, the point is that the outcomes are never really the same as what the intended outcomes were. It started unlocking a lot of innovation. And it's not just innovation in terms of the new IT products and services that it could spawn very soon. There was business model innovation. There was innovation in traditional industries which was getting triggered with the use of essentially use and throw technology in some sense. I mean, you use it for the time that you need it. After that, you either scale it down or you shut it down altogether. And people started experimenting at much lower cost. So therein lies the opportunity. For the kind of intellectual horsepower that we have available in India, across the country, and in Kerala in particular, entrepreneurs, young innovators, when they think of an idea and they want to try something, we have a program that enables startup founders to start their first experiment, their first idea on the cloud, so long as it is in the digital domain. If somebody is planning to build rockets, of course, the only thing we can do is to provide infrastructure to design them or possibly simulate the whole space flight in the virtual world. But coming back to that point, try an innovation, see what works, scale as the product or the service meets success, and grow with the business. That's one thing with which cloud, or a resilient cloud, if I may add, can facilitate innovation, and therein the opportunity lies for the businesses and people in Kerala who are looking at IT as a platform on which to build their innovation.
So you are saying, like I think in the earlier session, that student is a third-year student. He was asking, he is a startup. He has a startup also, and in fact, in the institutions and colleges in Kerala, the startup ecosystem is very much vibrant. So that means like somebody sitting here can leverage that cloud and then really work on it. That's what you are saying.
That's exactly what I am saying. And
Okay.
in fact, that's a program which is AWS for startups.
Okay.
And all hyperscalers. I mean, I'll not claim that AWS is unique in this regard. All hyperscalers, the way we are going to see the right usage of our investment is by enabling such ideas to thrive. And that's the startups program we run.
Thank you. Again, coming with the cloud, I think Vijayendra, like, being the security officer, and also with the cloud and all those things happening, there is always this concern about the data, what is kept in cloud, how it can be accessed. So can you give lights on how the securities needs to be built around the cloud infrastructure?
Thank you. So just to add top of what he talked about, in last several years, the way the industry has changed, the ecosystem has changed, and the platforms, services, and most importantly, where are your customers and where are your customers' consumers? So the ecosystem has changed, and the thinking has changed a lot. And what has gone behind is how are we relevant and resilient? And to add to that cybersecurity angle, how are we cyber resilient? That is another thing that where everyone should look at it. So looking at the way how industries are growing, expanding in multiple locations. So the cyber resilience is the one area that where the industry has to focus. And folks have to look at the way that where the data resiliency and looking at the way following the data privacy and whatever the law of the land, everyone they follows. I think that's most important because it's not only just the data at rest, data in motion, the way how the data is secure, even if it gets into wrong hands. So that's the kind of thinking that is going in everyone's mind, and we have the right technology today, and people are looking at building in, enhancing those capabilities, and making sure that the data is safe, and it is accessible only with multiple ways of controls around it. So the industry is looking at, definitely, I'm sure that everyone is looking at the way that their data, because today data is everything. And you have your privacy information, PII information, and your customer information, and the clients, and your, there are several things that what you talk about, and anything can go wrong. If things go wrong, obviously the liability is with you, right? So it is utmost important for everyone to make sure that data is not only secure, but at the same time, it is not getting into the wrong hands, and we have all the guardrails and controls and around it.
Yeah. Thank you. But again, one of the key aspects which comes into play with all this security and the aspects is the financial impact. So there has to be a good amount of investment. So what is your take on that?
See, definitely, there's going to be a financial investment, and the way that everyone is paranoid today, right? And an incident might cause, or may cause fortune, right? So looking at the way all these additional controls, the companies, they look at it, it is just to make sure that we have additional controls. And we talk about defense layer 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of stuff, just to make sure that all layer of controls are built in when employees and their consumers and their customers are accessing this data. I think that's most important. And again, there are various ways that we can get in, but I'll pause for now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, coming to Joe, being in the consultancy firm now as an entrepreneur, what is the digital transformation you foresee for businesses in Kerala and beyond?
Yeah, I think it's both an accelerating time and a terrifying time, right? So I'll take it from the view of service providers first, and which has come the first wave, right? When we are looking at service providers, I don't think so it's going to be quantity anymore. So it is not about, you know, hundreds of thousands of people getting employed, and you know, Kerala, if you look at it from a overall India perspective, you know, we are at about 3 lakhs out of 55 lakhs. So I think we missed that generation in terms of, you know, our other southern states. But I think Kerala is an opportunity where we have created an ecosystem which has been talked about in the other sessions, but that ecosystem can create companies that can leapfrog many others. Because if you think about the previous technology revolutions, right, whether it was mobile or you know, internet before that, and social and digital, you know, in the last 20 years, global companies have been created that were not existing 20 years back. And these are top companies, right? So I think Kerala has that opportunity. So it is terrifying to certain people, but I think it's an opportunity for a lot because you can start AI first businesses using these infrastructures that are there. I think the technology, whether it's hyperscalers, I think that is there. And we are going to see technology evolve. It is going to be cheaper. You will have different models come out. So I think where Kerala really can innovate is the creative talent. How do you think about problems? How do you build an AI first business? How can you transform your existing business to be an AI first business? And yesterday's session somebody mentioned a Jack Welch quote. It's all about, are your customers happy? Are your employees happy? Is the cash flow good? So when you start AI first businesses that concentrate on those three metrics, right? I think there's a great opportunity, and I think that digital transformation is, I think, what we should latch on. Building it in Kerala for the world.
Okay, thank you. Coming to Vinay, I know you have like a big operations in Technopark in Trivandrum, and between Pune and Trivandrum that operations are happening. So what are your like experiences setting up such an operations in Kerala, and how the going forward with all these newer technologies coming into play, what will be the IT structure you will be envisaging?
Great question, I would say. Once again, thanks for having me here. So it's been an honor to put forward the perspectives. Yeah, I mean, coincidentally, this week we have celebrated our 135th birthday as an organization. That itself is a credential in the industry. Allianz is an organization, and we are associated, as I said earlier, we are associated with Kerala local state for about 22 years. And still growing, and that's the commitment which we bring it on the table. Before I actually make my comments into the actual questions, so I think it's a very interesting discussion which we are having from a infrastructure and IT standard. So I think earlier years, IT used to be a cost, and now IT is part of the business. So, as digitalization is moving forward, cloudification is happening, modernization is happening, and so on and so forth. So it's very important. So take three examples of the industry. One is the airline industry, second is the hospital industry, and third is, I think, financial or insurance industry. So there is a direct impact on the human life. So anything and everything which is being done at the back end of IT infrastructure, application, full stack as what we understood earlier from Keynote, there is an absolutely direct impact on the human life, hence the skill matters. So if I need to comment a little bit about the operations and what influenced in setting up the operations in the initial days in Kerala, I think there are 4 or 5 broad factors, I would say. We've all talked about the human capital, the talent, so skilled workforce. I think it's important. I'm saying it more from the IT and engineering space perspective. Second is quality of life, which is I would say more from a healthcare, excellent healthcare facilities, the education, and peaceful environment. Third, I would say cost effectiveness. Relatively, comparatively to the major IT hubs in India, I think the cost effectiveness is still a major factor which attracts the employment in Kerala. Fourth, I would say, is sort of a strategic locations, because Trivandrum, if we need to talk about the connectivity to the global standards, like international airports, I think some of those factors are very important when we continue to do a business for a couple of decades for the state. And last but not the least, it's government support, be it related to the policies, the logistical regulatory requirements, and I think some of these state-of-the-art facilities like Technopark. We've been associated with Technopark for 20 years. And we've been seeing some of the excellent work over there. So I would say that I think holistically, I think these are the 4 or 5 factors I would say it's more from what influence our decision in continuing the business with Kerala.
Okay. Now, since you mentioned about the insurance or the businesses, what you are doing, is directly connected to the people. And again, when the data or the infrastructure comes into play, and you also mentioned about the security being one of the factors. So what are all the steps you are taking in place to put that security intact?
I think security, and we will, I'll put forward this into 3-4 things. One, business continuity plan is very important. So that means, and again, whole IT infrastructure is in two space. One is the buildings, facilities, campus, and its whole ecosystem, right? Because that itself is an economy. Second is the real IT infrastructure which runs the business on the platform, right? Which is your likes of full stack network, servers, database, middleware, applications, and the components of it. So from security perspective, one is the physical security, safety of the location, and overall BCP part is very important. Second thing is the digital security, cyber security, what we talk about it. I think data is a new gold. We all know about it. We all talk about it. We also see how important it is from an awareness standpoint. Like for an example, part of some of our CSR activities in Kerala locally, we actually reach out to the old age people, community, and then also make the awareness to them, saying that how to make sure that they are digitally safe. So from a security standpoint, it's very important. The most important thing is the skill sets. As this area is becoming more and more important, and having the right talent, having the right skill sets to the security technology is very, very important. I think every organization has its own cyber defense center. I'm sure the government organization do have as well. So we need to make sure that our data is protected, our entities are protected, and that's where again, I go back to a talent pool and skilled workforce.
Okay, thank you. Coming to Sushant, and I know like in some of our conversations, you always mentioned about an ecosystem play. That's like, I think you are a big advocate of that. So from an InfoPark standpoint, and also you are handling CyberPark, what are all the contributing factors for the expansion of the development of Kerala IT infrastructure, and how more investments can be attracted?
Okay. Anyway, I talk a completely different language as compared to all the other panelists. Yeah. So if you look at the physical infrastructure, the office infrastructure, see, Kerala has been a state where the government has been very proactive in creating and maintaining world-class infrastructure. So we do have, say, Technopark in Trivandrum, which started some 35 years back. And then they today have close to 12 million square feet of IT built up space. So similarly, InfoPark here, so we do have about 9.2 million square feet. And Calicut, it's slightly small, so we do have a little less than 500,000 within the government parks. But at the same time, outside of these parks, we do have Smart City here in Kochi, which has, I would say, about 1.4 million square feet. And then there is UL Cyber Park, which is probably about 500,000 square feet in Calicut and stuff like that. So many of these kind of things are government-led initiatives. And so we have definitely created that kind of an ecosystem here where companies can come and set up and thrive here. So that is something which has been already done by the government. And then we continue to do that. So there's been a lot of expansion plans as part of, the parks. In Trivandrum, I think, we do have another 3.5 million from Taurus is coming. And then, so there is a quad project which is going to bring in another 1.7 million square feet. And in InfoPark, so we have about 1.2 million new development that is happening as of right now. But the biggest story is, so we are looking at building a phase 3 campus, which is going to bring in about 15 million square feet of IT space. So in Calicut also, so government Cyber Park is building the second building, so that's going to be another, close to 4 lakh square feet. Plus, there could be some additional development that is going to happen from the private parks as well. So altogether, so there are quite a lot of initiatives that are happening in terms of building that physical infrastructure. And obviously, our current model is led by investors. Infopark, you know, a minuscule part of the inventory is currently held by Infopark itself. The rest is pretty much built by private investors. So there are quite a lot of possibilities for investments in real estate in the IT industry in Kerala.
And you mentioned about the expansion plan. That's a huge expansion plan coming up in Infopark as phase 3, and plus even the other locations. So from the physical infrastructure standpoint, how we are envisaging the new buildings or the construction to happen, is it like getting accelerated, or is there a mechanism which you are looking for to do that?
Infopark Phase 3 is, one of our dream projects. Okay, so first of all, it's going to be the first land pooling project in the state. So we will be looking at land pooling as a mechanism for getting the land, obviously. Then a quite deviation from the current model. This is going to be an integrated township, which is going to be, I think currently we are looking at around 200 hectares of integrated township that will have, so this 15 million square feet of built up space, plus residences, commercial spaces, cultural spaces, recreational zones, and everything. So because the whole thought process currently is about smart urbanization. And until and unless we have smart urban areas, we may not be able to attract the talent that we really require. We create enough of the fresh talent here, but attracting the leadership talent as well as the mid-level talent, that is where we still are having some challenge. So for that, we need to create that right physical as well as the social infrastructure here. And obviously, when I talk about physical, IT spaces are one thing, but connectivity is the other major thing. So whenever we are envisaging this phase 3 project, we are looking at extending Kochi Metro to that place, plus building expressways to connect to the city as well as the other major highways here. So connectivity is a very important thing, but there are other things also that we need to look at. We need to look at sustainability, we need to look at water positivity and waste management. And then, this has to be a model city for us to, take inspiration from. And then once we build this, that is going to be the prototype for the future development for smart urbanization in Kerala.
Okay, congratulations for that dream project. Again, Vijayendra, coming to that aspect, if such a huge facility is coming up, how the overall, the digital and the technology infrastructure has to play into that?
Just to add on top of what I heard, again, when everyone looks at their industries, how well they are globally connected, the first thing that it comes to their mind is how, again, going back to the question on resilience. For example, Cochin, it is sitting on 3 under-ocean fiber rings, okay? So at any point of time, if you are servicing your customers and your consumers in anywhere in the world, that means you have to be available globally 24/7 all the time. So it's most important to strategically look at the location where you are available on the global rings, right? And again, to add to the ecosystem part of it, right? When we look at the entire ecosystem, of course, the talent is the key thing, but most of the companies, whether it is technology or non-technology or the factory or whatever, right? So they look at the support system. What is most important, again, is how well the entire support system is also mushrooming around the global industries. Because it's not only just the industries, the connectivity, and the way that they said, because it's most important not only for the situation, because it defines the investment plan for other industries. So they can plan their SLAs, they can make sure that they meet their clients' SLAs and their consumers' SLA commitments and things like that. So support system is very well required, and looking at the way the technology and the ecosystem and the support system. And again, it's not only just limited only to the industry, but where the employees and the gig workers are working as well. So the ecosystem, the connectivity, and the digital transport, and the reliability, all those things that what we heard. I think everyone is these days like they are connected probably 24/7. I think with this I'll pause here.
Thank you. Coming to Joe, with such a development coming up from the state, from the infrastructure standpoint, what are all the key untapped opportunities Kerala's IT sector should explore?
As I said, I think I'll just add on to it. One is the ecosystem that has been already created or is being created. But I think one of the things that we need to also think about is, I don't think so it's going to be a linear headcount growth anymore, right? Especially in technology. So I think that mentality shift has to happen. Kerala has been, very progressive in promoting products and startups and stuff like that, which is good, which is non-services led. So I think creating an ecosystem for those AI first businesses to thrive, right? Putting that focus on what those businesses would need in terms of, the GPUs, the hyperscale, the infrastructure for that. And also developing, I would say, industry and domain expertise, right? Because that is very key. So when you create those AI first businesses, while it's technology led, a lot of it is also about understanding, let's say for healthcare, are we using the right AI infrastructures to solve those specific problems, or if it is retail, or if it is fintech, right? Kerala's got a great fintech market. Are we bringing those things so that, the products out of Kerala have that competitive edge, right? So I think that's where we need to start thinking about, because I think the last 2 decades were all about linear growth, right? It's linear growth of people. Now, can you look at creating a non-linear growth while these ecosystems and those things flourish for us to get to that 1 trillion mark? Because by increasing headcount alone, we are not going to get there. And there is a great opportunity for us because we have that ability, we have that quality talent, we have everything that takes. It's just about ensuring now we start thinking about those businesses differently.
So along with the vibrant startup ecosystem which is happening, you are suggesting we have to attract more of that product and the platform play which has to happen over here.
We have to be in that market now, right? Because I don't think so it's going to be a pure, if you look at the last post Y2K scenario of just services led, I'm saying
That
tech
will-
services led market. It will be more technology that will bring in non-linearity to the whole
Thank
curve.
you. And coming to Bhaskar, like what new opportunities Kerala can leverage, especially from the cloud and again with the fast pace in which the technology is moving. Now we all talk about AI, data, all those aspects coming into play. So what are your thoughts on that?
Thanks for that question. I'll pick upon what Joe said. This phase of growth is going to be radically different. One, of course, there is a significant opportunity, and we talk about it internally as well as externally quite a lot, that of all the potential cloud usage which customers across the world and across the country could do, currently we are sitting at less than 20% of that. So there's probably a 5x upside on just the cloud adoption. There are tremendous services opportunities in just working towards cloud adoption. The close follower of this is the opportunity around designing and building for cloud, which means an existing application could look at something like a tax accounting application or a hospital management system which is built to use microservices and uses the infrastructure very optimally, which means that you don't really need to think about how many servers of GPU I need out there, because it just does a call to the GPU server when a physician pulls up an imaging record, let's say an X-ray, and the system is able to prompt that, hey, here is something which is not, and there's probably a 30, 40 milliseconds of GPU required in there. Hospital doesn't need to think about GPU. They can just think about, I need this capability that prompts my physician on getting that report, what he needs or she needs to look for. Second opportunity, design for cloud or I'd say rewrite for cloud in that sense. And that's a services opportunity again. Third one, which Joe touched upon very aptly, is around the AI. And AI, people tend to think in terms of white collar AI, which is the one we worry about the most, that will have direct impact on jobs, including developer jobs. But that's not the AI which is going to create value the most. That's the kind of AI which I just described, telling the physician, hey, you need to look for here because that saves time for the physician. And this is just one example. There are applications being done which are about, let's say, condition-based operations, yield-based inputs, and forecasting, which is, pretty much part of every single physical world business, whether you are running a kirana store or distributing a product across a state and a region, or you are talking about making electric cars available to 3 metropolitan cities. So being able to do that, designing applications which are AI based to do use cases like this, and this is not just a build for the world opportunity, it is a build for India and build for Kerala opportunity as well. So that's probably the most significant one from a long-term standpoint. These two, the first two about adoption of cloud and build for the cloud or refactor for cloud, is probably a 5 to 10 years window. The AI one is maybe 20 years and beyond.
So that means like the way you have put it across, or the suggestion is basically, because when the coding aspect you touched upon, people are also worried whether the coders will be replaced by AI. So can we say confidently, it's like if somebody is not up to the mark or like moving with the technology, learning to it, then the job loss can happen. Otherwise, it will be a job shift.
It's mostly going to be a job shift. Someone who's really deep into, let's say, coding and is coding for the GPU at the firmware level or at the middleware level, that sort of a job will stay around because the next generation of GPU will require the same skill set to come in and program for it. But the application programming layer is where there will be a lot of churn. And that's where I think one of the speakers earlier, I think the one before this panel discussion, the lady said that we will need more of people who can prompt the AI to do the code rather than being in a position to write the code yourself.
Okay, thank you.
If you allow me, I'll just add one factor to it. I think this is a very interesting conversation. The skills and roles will transform, they will not be lost. Looking at the Gen AI speed and awareness, this is how I personally see that the world will split into 2 communities over the period of time. One is creator and second is user. So it is up to us which community we need to be part of it. And I think the whole coding is also becoming so easy because, and it's lovely to see a third-year student who is coming and saying that he has his own startup. So that means this is the encouragement we are seeing it. But we will see that world is moving more towards creator and user kind of community. The movies used to be shot earlier. As we move forward, I think the movies will be created. And it used to take years together. Perhaps in near future, we would see the movies will be created in weeks.
Thank you. Again, coming back to you, Vinay, how the technology you envisage will have an impact on the insurance domain?
Yeah, very interesting question. So as I said, earlier as well, right? I'm a big fan of 2 industries personally, airline industry and hospital industry, because we see there is immediate impact. Can we actually imagine a situation saying that we fly, we are in the air, and then pilot announces there is a technology glitch? There is a direct human impact. There is There is a patient who is actually there on the operation table, and then the surgeon actually faces a technology glitch. I think technology is very closely connected to the industry. So it is no longer a cost center for an organization, it is part of the business. Something similar in the financial industry and insurance industry. Many of the models, operating models, have moved to, I would say, future mode of operations. So SaaS-based models are there. They are very lean and thin in terms of usage. We see that we can actually put our requests to the insurance claims, to the new insurance requests through a mobile app and so on and so forth. So as we move forward, I think skills is going to be very important for us. If I would also see it, the challenges, I wouldn't say challenges or limitations we faced while we are operating here locally. Some of the next gen, new gen skills like cloud, transformation, modernization, cybersecurity, etc., we had little limitations. But now as we move forward, we're seeing that talent pool is getting better. Availability of the local skills are much better. And I think the individuals are focusing on learning on the Gen AI and AI ops kind of skills as well. So from an insurance industry standpoint, so to give an example, we have our own GPT. So the way we have a chat GPT, we have Allianz GPT, and then it's already rolled. So we are relatively ahead in terms of the insurance and then integration with the services, direct business services, we are doing it. I think skills are important from both perspectives, the technology skills as well as the services skills, so be it business processes or the technology skills.
Thank you. Coming to Sushant, can you just touch upon what the government incentives are there from an overall IT infrastructure development in Kerala?
The biggest incentive is cost effectiveness. So since government is a major player in the IT infrastructure, so there is an implied regulation. I'm not saying that there is a regulation, but there is an implied one because the government's motive is primarily to promote the industry. So obviously, the government-owned IT spaces will have a certain set of pricing structure, and obviously the industry will have to be self-regulated to match up to that, or at least to be in the vicinity of those kind of things. So instead of providing fiscal incentives, we ensure that there is an implied that kind of a regulation. And even in terms of land, there is that kind of very, very subsidized kind of leasing models we have. So and obviously being tier 2 cities, there is that salary cost advantages also. So obviously all of these things plus all the benefits or are the advantages like the talent availability and stuff like that. That we have been talking too much about in this in this conference already. So it becomes a very attractive proposition for business.
Thank you. Thank you for all those insights. Any questions from the audience? A mic over there.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Sanjay Jha and represent STT Global Data Centers in India. This company is primarily in data centers outside and in India also. We are in 8 states so far. And in India, we are #1 approximately. So we were trying to put a data center in Kerala also. We were in discussion, but could not get a proper land in IT Park. So again, we are initiating the discussion. Sir, one point I have actually, approximately 8-9 states have data center policies, separate data center policies. And data center industry needs not much non-fiscal incentives because of the different kind of design requirements, water requirements, power requirements, and different things, okay? So why you are not coming with a different policy on data centers? So that is much requirement.
I think Shusha.
Okay. So the first thing is that say we are, so we have had this discussion within the government quite a lot. So to be To give you the perspective, we have 2 data centers that are being currently set up in Kochi. So we do promote data centers, and obviously, so we will make sure that please talk to me, and then we will make sure that so you will get the right land for that. And in terms of the policy, we are working at the government level to bring out something. So currently, we are in the process of finalizing that IT policy, which is going to hopefully will come out in another month or so. So along with that, or maybe immediately after that, we will be looking at data center and GCC kind of policies coming out.
Yeah, please.
Sir, I'm Joseph Abraham. I'm an economist, not an IT professional. I was in the government and retired. I worked in Hyderabad, I worked in Delhi government, etc. Now my concern, hearing these presentations and analysis offered, I have a few concerns. One, this cost reduction. Huge investment, huge infrastructure is being created, lots of money is expended in the IT sector. Cost reduction, is it happening? In fact, when we go for purchasing, we feel that the prices are increasing. Cost reduction, is it happening? Now, some illustration or what is the impact on the cost, bringing down the cost of services? Is it happening? Work minimization again, duplicity, parallelly working, competing, cutthroat competition is happening. Again, what is the, the focus or the orientation onto that? Price reduction, is it, enhanced? Is it rewarded in the IT sector? Another concern I have is, we have huge money spent into the IT sector. Some services, we may expect it to become free in the long run. In fact, the net services, IT net services, we would expect it to become less costly, or cost has to become lower and lower, or in the long run become some of these services free of service. For example, net servicing, networking, net services, IT access, etc. How long it will take for us to get free IT services, network services, etc.
Yeah, sir, I think that's an overload of question. Maybe
okay.
we can, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
Yes.
Joe, if you want to touch
And
upon.
again, government, the IT man was telling the government, regulating and, spending resources, where do you, regulate and control? How do you, inflict a control, forceful control on resource spending?
Okay. To start with, the era of free lunches are gone. So I don't really think that anything should be free. There is a cost associated with everything. So the question is, how do we ensure that everything that we do is cost effective? Obviously, since we are, a lot of us are running businesses, and even the government organizations, we are looking at our top line and bottom line very, very carefully. So obviously, there are internal checks and balances and everything. And then obviously, any government thing, it is susceptible to a lot of audits. So we are, being audited by AG and everybody. So obviously, every single step of the way, we ensure that, whatever that we do is in the best interest of the state. And with respect to the free services and stuff like that, certain governments announce certain things, but there is a different cost associated with that. They will just, underwrite that thing with somebody else. That is basically what it is.
You want to just touch upon the cost reduction part?
Cost of services. Yeah. So cost of services, it's going to go down, and it's going to go down dramatically, because, and I've seen this real life examples. So one of the clients that we were looking at, providing basic application programming and what he said, right, the application layer testing services for a global top 10 customer. Needed about 300 engineers to do it. And as of last month, they floated an RFP. And we are getting bids where they are saying, hey, we can do the same job that was done by 300 engineers over the last 10 years with about 70, 75 people. Using productivity skills, using a lot of autonomous, using AI. And it's happening now. It's not happening 5 years from now. So that is a huge reduction in services cost. And that is going to come down because a lot of these will get commoditized. So I think cost of services will come down, but there are other costs that will go up, right, in terms of what he said, right? In terms of those skilled programmers who are looking at tweaking the GPUs, making those calls, so plumbing that, those costs will come down. But overall, I think the services cost is going to come down.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thanks all the panelists. It was a really good session. Thanks for the audience and the questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May I please invite Mr. Santosh Kurup, Professor of Practice in the School of Digital Humanities and Liberal Arts at Digital University, Kerala, to do the honors to present the token of appreciation and love, the mementos. May I please invite Mr. Sushant Kurundil, Chief Executive Officer, Infopark, to receive the memento. Mr. Vinay Davare, Head of Infrastructure and Information Security, Alliance Technology. Mr. Bhaskar Joshi, Head of Partner Success at AWS. Mr. Joseph Gora, Impactive. Mr. Vijayendra Purohit, Senior Vice President, Head Computers and Communications Division, Infosys Limited. And the session moderator, Mr. Dinesh Thambi, the Vice President and Delivery Center Head at TCS. May we please? Sir, we have a group. Sir, you have to stay back for a group photo. So by this, we come to an end of the panel discussion, IT Infrastructure for Industry Growth, coordinated through the IT Department of Government of Kerala. Thank you so much.